From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
Breaking news this afternoon on LALATE. The President of the United States comes out and says, you need stimulus because this economy is not rebounding. I'll go over the breaking details, and I'll have the video from the White House in which the press secretary not once, but twice talks about those comments from Jerome Powell and expresses her concern about where the economy is going, saying we need more stimulus. This is incredible, great news for you because monthly stimulus checks is the push underway under the fourth stimulus package. Who would get those monthly stimulus checks and how much would they pay? I have all the details for you in a big recording that analyzes the push for those monthly stimulus checks and why good data and bad data impacts you across the board. Also why Jerome Powell said on Sunday you need that stimulus checks as well. Meantime, I'll be going into the surprising great news as we go into an afternoon as the EIDL grants of $10,000 that did not pay last year are paying this week. You're going to hear the exclusive details only on this recording. And the $50,000 of student loan debt is about to happen. I'm exclusively reporting that this Thursday or Friday, the President of the United States will roll out a sweeping executive order to forgive $50,000 of student loan debt. I have all the details and more as we start a big afternoon's recording starting right now. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Monday afternoon. Hope you're doing wonderful and safe. This is a big jaw-dropping, jam-packed recording today that's covering those monthly stimulus checks under the fourth stimulus package, that veterans check for the third stimulus package arriving this Wednesday, that $10,000 EIDL second stimulus grant check that's coming this week, and that $50,000 student loan debt forgiveness check, well, not check, but forgiveness, that's coming at the end of this week before fourth stimulus. Boy, and I even have details about fifth stimulus. Yeah, that one too in this recording. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. You may need a calculator for all the stimulus covered in this video. Also, like this video, and if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. Boy, breaking news, exclusive dudes, and more. Let's get to each of them one at a time. First, as to the third stimulus check, I have been telling you for 2 weeks that this coming Wednesday, April 14th, is the Fix-It week for veterans, and it's now confirmed. If you are a veteran and have not gotten your $1,400 third stimulus check, it's landing this Wednesday by direct deposit, so congratulations. The rest of you who are waiting for those mail checks, they're still coming. All right, let's get to fourth stimulus. Fourth stimulus is that monthly stimulus check that the senators and the House members who are Democrats want you to have. And you've been hearing me record ad nauseum about all the nuances at issue. One of the big nuances I've been talking about is good news and bad news. You don't want too much good economic data when there's not enough bad economic data. And that ultimately, if all you hear is good data, then the concern is whether they would still do it. Well, we got great news today. Great news today as the White House confirmed bad data. Yeah, double negative there. And here's what came out. On Sunday night, Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, appeared on CBS's 60 Minutes in a tape recording and said the economic data is still bad. We need more stimulus. Away we went. And then the press secretary today said, yes, the White House agrees. Oh, boy, this is a good one, folks. This is a good one. You want to keep this momentum going now while this is happening. You don't want to wait a few months and all you hear is, oh, the economy's rebounded. We don't need stimulus. Right now, we need it. And this is what Jerome Powell said. Your head of the Federal Reserve, Chairman Jerome Powell, said on Sunday on 60 Minutes during a tape broadcast. Highly unlikely the Federal Reserve would raise interest rates this year. That's huge. He's basically consistently holding his messaging that he's not changing monetary policy because the economy is not fully recovered. He then also said during the 60 Minutes interview, he will continue, the Federal Reserve will continue to support the economy as long as it takes to complete the recovery. This is huge. So the White House was asked about that interview during today's press briefing. And the White House came out and said, we agree, we need to continue to provide stimulus. Let's listen to that answer.
President Biden has made very clear that two of his top priorities for the infrastructure plan is to create jobs and to stimulate the economy. Last night on 60 Minutes, Jerome Powell said he and other forecasters already see that happening. So I wonder if the optimistic outlook changes the president's priorities in the plan at all and offers more wiggle room for negotiation in certain areas.
So her question is exactly what you and I have been talking about on this channel. She's saying there's optimism about economic booming occurring. And does that change the president's push for stimulus? She's basically asking, we now see good economic data. Is the president changing his messaging across the board? What is the good economic data? There's a good jobs report 2 weeks ago. I'll go over that later in this video. A huge, wonderful PPI number last Friday, the best number in 10 years, and a CPI number expected tomorrow. Really great news. There was also, at the same breath, very bad news. And that bad news, which the press secretary about to answer the reporter with, is the new unemployment claims bad, the continuing unemployment claims bad, and the business closure numbers bad. Let's see the response to the question about the burgeoning growth of this economy. Will the White House let up on its position about providing stimulus for this economy going forward? Let's listen in.
Areas.
Do you mean to we don't need as many jobs?
The goal of the plan is to create jobs and stimulate the economy. And they're saying that's already happening, which is a great thing. So is he willing to scale back on some of these items because we're already seeing growth?
Well, I unfortunately, I regularly watch 60 Minutes. I did not see the whole episode, so I don't know the whole context of his remarks. But I will say that part of what economists feel is that we are still behind, that we need to still do more. Because if you look at our last jobs report, we were still about 8.4 million jobs in the red, that we needed to create, that we needed to Americans we needed to put back to work. There are still parts of the American population, high levels of unemployment among African Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans that we need to work to address. This is definitely a jobs package, hence the American Jobs Plan. But what it also does is it helps modernize, invest in our nation's infrastructure, and do that in a way that will help us compete over the long term and help us have jobs for the future. So there are many objectives of this package, but certainly we feel there is more work to be done to put more Americans back to work, and we are not in the clear on that front.
Thank you. And on the state-by-state fact sheets,
So this is huge in many regards. And let me explain why this is an incredibly good message, almost a great message to hear from the White House. The messaging was from the press secretary was, yes, some parts of the economy are rebounding, but we're not fully rebounded. And unless we're not fully rebounded, we're providing stimulus. This is really good news. Now, it's not a new message. It's the same message the White House, the press secretary, Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary, and the White House have said, and also Jerome Powell. The whole economy needs to be rebounded. Well, that's why the fourth stimulus bill needs to get to the Congress ASAP, because as Jerome Powell said in that 60 Minutes interview, we are booming. The question is, when are those jobs going to be restored? Here's what you need to know. As the press secretary said, there are 8 million jobs missing. She said it was a bad jobs number. It was not. It was a good jobs number. It showed 1 million jobs generated in the month of March. Well, Wall Street analysts are worried that there could, or are expecting, potentially 2 million jobs restored in the month of April. If that's correct, 4 months would restore 8 million jobs. 2 per month, 4 months, 8. You're done. That is exactly the summer. You don't want the bill to sit around and not get to Congress until the fall if all those jobs are restored. That's the first thing. The second one is there are other economic data numbers, that inflection points that came out over the weekend that Jerome Powell was asked about. And those economic data numbers are very good. And that you don't want to see those numbers overwhelm the bad data so that there's no reason to give stimulus across the board. Let's look at this huge forced stimulus. Those Democratic senators want that stimulus to run from the moment it becomes law to December. Well, you see the routing times. You want the bill to the Senate to finalize by then. Congress goes on recess from about July to September. They have a lot of breaks, but they're generally on recess to September. By September, the economy could be fully rebounded. You don't want to risk that across the board. You want the bill in the Senate. It's also obvious because every month is a stimulus check, so you don't want to miss 2 or 3 months of stimulus checks. Jerome Powell was certainly asked about this question as well. The producer price index on Friday, highest level, most growth in nearly 10 years. And that number worries people because it shows that there's massive growth across the board. Now, for every growth number, there's also bad economic data. But what's important to understand is that the messaging from the White House is great news today. The White House's commitment to provide stimulus until everyone is fully restored is great news. So even if you saw 70% of the economy restored, is there 30% still outstanding? They're going to provide the stimulus. Very, very big news. Meantime, what's important to understand is that you're going to see over the remainder of this week, hopefully, and not any longer, Purple Power, do your thing, a narrative to do this by bipartisanship. But after the end of this week, it's time to do it by recon. Because those Republicans, first, don't want to give you a stimulus check. Second, they don't want to give the president climate. And third, they don't want to do the bill. So let's listen into what the press secretary said today when asked about that issue.
Given how things played out with the COVID relief bill?
Well, I would say that the president, you don't use the president of the United States' time multiple times over, including 2 infrastructure meetings, bipartisan infrastructure meetings he's already had, or the meeting today, if he did not want to authentically hear from the members attending about their ideas about how to move forward this package.
Let me back up the question. The question to the press secretary is whether the president is actually wanting to do bipartisanship or whether it's faux bipartisanship when he's really just doing recon in the next breath.
As they are possible. And some of them we've signed through executive orders, and we'll continue to communicate with these groups about what is most effective.
Just quickly on infrastructure, the president is having this bipartisan meeting today, but what is your message to some congressional Republicans who have expressed skepticism about whether the White House is authentically interested in negotiating here, given how things played out with the COVID relief bill?
Well, I would say that the president, you don't use the president of the United States' time multiple times over, including 2 infrastructure meetings, bipartisan infrastructure meetings he's already had, or the meeting today, if he did not want to authentically hear from the members attending about their ideas about how to move forward this package in a bipartisan manner.
So is he willing to negotiate on the scope and the price tag, or just on ways to pay for this?
He absolutely is. He looks forward to hearing their ideas, and his objective is to find a way forward where we can modernize our nation's infrastructure so we can compete with China. He's proposed a way to pay for it, which is what he thinks the responsible thing is to do, and he hopes they'll come to the table with ideas. Go ahead, Josh.
Here's what's important to understand is that's not particularly an accurate statement. In fact, the president himself has actually contradicted that statement. The president, during his press briefing last week, said, doing nothing is not an option. I want to do good faith negotiations, but telling me doing nothing is not an option. So the message from the president is very clear. If you give me 0, I'm not going to negotiate. I'm not going to do 0. You have to give me something. Well, when it comes to climate, prong number 2 of the infrastructure bill, Republicans say we're not doing climate. We're not doing 1 penny for climate. We're not doing anything. And guess what? The president can have as many meetings as he wants. But the net result is the Republicans say they're not doing climate. And that ultimately, that's to recon. So somewhere, I believe, in the scope of this week, you're going to see the president understand that, or at least admit, or at least publicly state it if he doesn't understand it already, that the Republicans are not going to meet him on bipartisanship of the bill, that it has to go by recon. You want the bill to go by recon. Why? Those Senate Democrats and those House Democrats want to put those multiple stimulus checks in there. No Republican wants to give you a stimulus check. They, in fact, admit it. They just want this as a simple roads and highway bill. They don't want to do any stimulus for anyone. The Democratic senators and the Democratic House members want those stimulus checks in there. And what they're going to do is when the bill gets to them, they're going to amend it. There's two ways to do it. First, the House members can amend it during the second stage of getting the bill. After it's approved for recon, then when it comes back and it goes to subcommittees, they can put those monthly stimulus checks in there. But the more likely outcome is the senators, those Democratic senators who, when they get the bill, will do what they've been plotting for a very long time. If you work with me in February and March, let me recap. When the third stimulus package landed in the Senate, series of Senate Democrats, the same ones that we're talking about here, had a lot of items they had been plotting out for a very long time to amend whatever they're given from the president. The president's bill can be about tea and crumpets, but when they modify it, they're going to put peanut butter and jelly also in there. That's what they did. They did $10,200 of unemployment tax-free from 2020. It came out of nowhere. No one even heard about this until they put it in. Do you think it was at the last second? No. They had plotted this out. Second, Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer, who are among the leaders trying to do all these voter-rama amendments to get their agendas passed into these bills, put in the student loan debt forgiveness would be tax-free. What a novel concept. You think they thought about it overnight? No. They had this plotted a very long time. So the moment the bill got to voter-rama in that Senate, those 2 days, they plotted it out. They, in fact, even plotted out when during the day to call for a vote. These are very well thought through processes. These aren't random and they aren't sort of ad hoc. They're planned months in advance. That reconciliation process is the process you want, and it's the only process to get those stimulus checks in there. It's during the voter-rama during the Senate, and it's 21 of 50 Democratic senators. So what does this have to do with you? Ultimately, you need a Bush Purple Power. Hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power. Because every month that goes by, you miss a stimulus check out of this. Moreover, my deepest concern, and everyone's concern, and the concern of that reporter asking the question to the press secretary, what about the economic rebound? Why would we need stimulus? Why would we need jobs if the jobs are restored? She said jobs are not restored yet. And that is where we are. It's very important. Whether you're looking at that producer price index number from Friday that showed 10% increases across the board, or whether you're looking at the other side of the gamut, which is the new unemployment claims, horrible numbers. 800,000 new unemployed people just last week, 40,000 in the state of California, 15,000 in the state of New York. It's important to see how these numbers really line up. And ultimately, you want to get the stimulus out the door. Meantime, one of the strange items which we had really taken out of consideration for a while for considering the impact of forced stimulus is the virus. You know, over the last few weeks, we've been talking about vaccination rates, how they've been very good, how so many people are vaccinated, and we hadn't taken into consideration if there's a resurgence of the virus, would that warrant more stimulus? Well, today we saw it. Not just Michigan, which is now being warned to go on lockdown, but other states are now seeing enormous resurgence of the virus. Let me make it very clear how we are at midday today. The data is still coming in. We had seen 5,000 new cases, a 5% growth state by state, about 20 states about a week ago. But the data is still coming in, and the WHO today said the United States is seeing a massive resurgence it hasn't seen since last July. If that's the case, even though there's massive vaccinations and there's a massive resurgence of the virus, this could impact the economy in a negative way and give a massive push for stimulus. This morning, Dr. Walensky spoke about the situation. Let's listen in to what she had to say in today's briefing about this situation.
19 related illness in comparison to white individuals. This information and the ongoing surveillance data we see daily from states across the country underscore the critical need and an important opportunity to address health equity as a core element in all of our public health efforts. These disparities were not caused by the pandemic, but they were certainly exacerbated by them. The COVID-19 pandemic and its disproportionate impact on communities of color is just the most recent and glaring example of health inequities that threaten the health of our nation. At CDC, we have a critical role to play in addressing health equity.
Meantime, Dr. Fauci responded to the situation as well. Let's listen to his comments.
Or a variant. For example, influenza is the most common of this, which mutates rapidly and drifts genetically, generally from season to season. However, even if a vaccine fails to protect against infection, it often protects against serious disease. Next slide. If you look at these group of selected vaccines, take a look at the chickenpox through shingles. I do want to mention one thing about a special group that we're obviously paying a lot of attention to, and those are people with organ transplants. Because in a recent study from JAMA just a couple of weeks ago, only 17% of the participants mounted an appreciable anti-spike antibody response. So full vaccination is very important for this population.
Meantime, coming up later in this video, I'll go over the shocking new exclusive details, which I can tell you today about that $10,000 EIDL grant that's being paid this week, the new grants going live at SBA, and why one crashed last week, and the excitement about $50,000 of student loan debt forgiveness about to happen. Boy, it's a big day, and I'll be back in 60 seconds. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Afternoons LA. The Dow and NASDAQ will remained relatively calm Monday. Dow was down less than 1%, NASDAQ down less than 1%, relatively a calm day across the board. Even as the U.S. hit vaccination record numbers and COVID cases continue to rise to the largest number we have seen since summer of last year. But along the way, we had some other surprises. Thank you for joining me. How are you? It's Afternoons LA. If you've just joined, make sure you just join the broadcast. Make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. Please like the videos. Earlier this morning, I think in 2 or 3 of the shows, I was in the live chat with you, with almost 3,000 of you, and there was 100 likes. Can't do this. We gotta like the videos. If there's 3,000 people watching or 2,000 people and there's 100 likes, For some reason, when the shows are taped, the likes are through the roof. But when they're live, people seem to forget to hit that like button. So really hit it because it helps in the algorithm rankings. Also, if you're not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, a Calcino VIP. Coming up later today, some exciting details. You're going to see some Javita Light. She's back in action. Yes, some really classic Javita Light is back in the mix. Catch that along with a special 2-month anniversary show is pulled out of the archives, out of the vaults for you to laugh and tear too. So enjoy that coming up later today on this channel. And then we go into Evenings at LALATE and 2 blockbusters at 10 and 10:30 tonight on evenings. Wow. So the $1,400 third stimulus check for veterans landing this Wednesday. And then we're off to 4 stimulus. Multiple stimulus checks every month from now to, well, from the when it becomes law to December. The push is underway, and the push got a major push today as the White House's team, the press secretary, said, economy's not rebounded. We need this help. We need this help. Great news. But the other great news is the EIDL grant. I can be exclusively reporting that if you apply for a 2020 EIDL grant, never got the remainder of the 10,000 or never got any of the 10,000, it's now being sent out. I can exclusively report that it's not being sent out in chronological order. It is not being sent out in chronological order. So 2 businesses in the same zip code, the July applicant is getting the invitation before the March applicant. The EIDL grant was open from March to May and then in the month of July for about 2 weeks, and it's not coming in chronological order, so watch your inbox. It's first targeting a random sampling for reasons we don't know, asking them if they are low income, and then going around the clock. Then it'll finish back with the non-low income. Everyone's going to get that money. Second, the shuttered venue grant went live on Friday. It crashed. It's now going to reopen. So go to sba.gov to apply for that. It's not just for venues. The PPP grant is now extended by executive order. And the other grants, like the restaurant grants, are about to go live. Next, we go to $50,000 of student loan debt. Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer have been pushing on this since October. And I'm exclusively reporting that by the end of this week, you're likely to hear an announcement from the president that he's forgiving your $50,000 of student loan debt. Whether you're a student or a former student, whether it's new debt or old debt, whether it's collections or non-collections, away we go. The president had given his education secretary the order after months of saying he would never do it. He gave in and instructed his education secretary to write up a memo to determine the legal validity of a president to forgive it by executive order. That memo is due later this Friday. I'm reporting that memo is going to say, yes, we can forgive it. That memo and its legal validity was analyzed first by Elizabeth Warren in a video she released at the early part of this pushing process back in the winter. Let's listen in about the legal authority she detailed.
Loan debt means there are lots of people who aren't moving out from their parents' homes, lots of people who aren't buying their own homes, and one of the other things the data shows, lots of people who are not starting their own businesses. And all of those things hold back our economy. And I make that point because I'm sure there are lots of folks who are on this call tonight who don't have student loan debt. But here's the deal. Even if you don't have student loan debt, you will be helped by seeing student loan debt canceled because it will help our economy. This is one of those things that doesn't have to go through Congress. The authority is already there in law for the president and his team, the administration, the Secretary of Education, to cancel out this student loan debt. And President Obama used it to cancel some student loan debt. President Trump used it to cancel some student loan debt. I want to see President Biden use it. If he would cancel $50,000 in student loan debt, it would make an enormous difference in the lives of tens of millions of Americans and help build our entire nation a stronger future going forward. So, as you know, I'm all in on this one. And if we could persuade the president, we could do this one fast. The consequence
announcement
of student loan debt
is coming later this week, I can report. Boy, it is a full day, and the full day is upon us. Third stimulus checks, $1,400 for veterans this Wednesday. $1,400 multiple stimulus checks. You need to push Purple Power. It's not automatic. It's not a given. It's not signed in writing. It's not etched in stone. You need to push. The president, and you saw in that press conference, is still having bipartisan meetings. You need to have him push to do it by reconciliation. That is the only path to get that stimulus check in there. Republicans don't want to give you one. EIDL 10,000 landing, $50,000 for student loan about to happen. A lot of exciting, great details. It's a full day, and we're not done yet. Coming up later today is that LALATE hilarious throwback, a new 2-month anniversary special from the archives, and then we go into Evenings LA and 2 other shows after that. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, which on the 1-year anniversary this month of this channel. We're trying to get to 400,000 subscribers. Let's get there. Also, like this video. Make sure you hit the like button. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you later on LALATE.